Hello, this is Beate Gillette, the host of the Business Growth Architect Show, founder of The Future. And in this episode, I'm taking you through my list of the top 10 what's out and what is in, which playbook does not work anymore, and which playbook works right now. If you want to figure out how to be a founder of the future and what exactly the 10 things are you want to do to be ready for what's coming and for what you want to build, make sure you listen to the entire episode right now. This is the Business Growth Architect Show for founders who don't follow trends, they set them. For entrepreneurs who aren't here to fix the past, but to build the future they actually want to live in. Hi, my name is Beate Gillette. I'm a Palisades fire survivor, strategist, and the entrepreneur behind a multi-million-dollar tech exit to the gates. And every week, I bring you the fire, real guests, real strategy, and the real talk on how to control your mind, move fast, and create your future. This is where strategy meets energy, because your next level needs both. Let's grow. Welcome back. Beate Gillette here, the host of the Business Growth Architect. Today's topic is around the top 10, what's out, what's in. The old playbook is dead. Long live the new playbook for founders. Let's dive right in. So I want to take you through the things that I want to address in this particular podcast, and that's the 10 outs and the 10 ins. The number one out is hype for hype's sake. I think I've said this probably about 10,000 times by now, but trendy is not sustainable. Hype cycles leave businesses scrambling when this noise is over. AI is no longer a buzzword. It is now integrated in many processes and automations. Just because you're using AI, you're not an AI specialist. Just stop the hype. Hype works nowhere anymore, not in internet marketing, nowhere. The second thing that's not working is believing that AI is your answer to shitty creativity and has no personality. The number of outreaches I now get from sloppy and lazy business owners, that includes PR pitches for my podcast, where somebody just takes the description of a podcast that we wrote and puts it in their AI, and then comes up with the resume of the person that they're trying to sell to me to be on the podcast, and they say, make this person fit this show. Well, when I have my pre-call with this person and they're completely not a match because it's all made up, it's all fantasizing by AI, then it cannot work. You wasted my time and I might never book anybody from your company again. So the ChatGPT idea that everything sounds like ChatGPT on autopilot, your audience just completely turns it out. AI is a tool. It is not your voice. AI is notoriously non-reliable. And if everything sounds the same, like words like profound, it's not just it's this. I do enough AI to recognize when something is not working. The next thing that's not working is the 4-hour workweek fantasy. I didn't like it then. I didn't like it in between, and I do not like it now. The 4-hour workweek fantasy that you don't work somewhere, you find all these things and services, the automation that does all the work for you while you sit on the beach drinking beverages with umbrellas on it, is a fantasy. It sold books, not scalable business. Without the expertise in automation, systems creation, it is useless because it's going to be nothing but a myth that's leading to disappointment. Let's talk about point number 4, death at the water cooler. I know that's a pretty catchy title. What do I mean by that? It's this rigid, fear-based culture. Creativity, right? I've talked about this on the show too. We are now in a, as I said, not a disruptor, but an rupture moment that will lead to transformation. And if you are buying into what everybody else is saying, oh my gosh, it's so difficult. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? The industry is in distress. All you're going to do is spinning your circles because you're trying to put a band-aid that's already broken. You have to, and we talked about this in the top 10 on the other side, you have to look into the future. when you try to revive a stale culture, you will get more of the same stale results. Now, the next thing that's out is no work-life balance, working 80 hours a week and calling it a success. The hustle culture is working well anymore with this new generation. Again, I'm thinking about when I was at Human Tech, and I am talking to people that are going into the meditation in the soul tech track, which my friend Edward Weisberg has facilitated. And then they go from that meditation into the conference to listen to a talk or a pitch. And you think about this ability to have both while you're at a conference, to go in a meditation or to go and try a new technology that is around mental health and balance, and then you go back to the conference. That's pretty freaking amazing. These models are already being designed. Do you really need to hustle? Well, there are times when you're going to need to hustle. I'm not going to lie, but it is not everything, and it's definitely not a badge of honor. Number 6, my favorite, bro marketing, bro influencing. What? 1% of the population wants a jet and hot girls and tequila and fast cars. When did that ever even become like a thing? When has this ever helped anybody to live a better life, other than it's an accumulation of toys and things that does not lead to inner fulfillment? It's really changing. Again, we're talking about this on the other side, that the engagement with what is really meaningful is a much hotter ticket right now. Loud, manipulative, ego-driven marketing techniques are definitely out, and they're definitely losing trust, and they're definitely losing trust fast. Another one of my favorites is the LinkedIn outreach. I call it the first date naked LinkedIn outreach. When somebody shows up on a first date with you naked, just in case. What do I mean by that? Without building any relationship, without an introduction. Hi, my name is Beate. I'm a business growth architect. I want you to give me 30 minutes of your time so I can sell you that you don't know if you even want, and you don't even know me. We don't have any trust. Let me just fall into the house with the door. Please, for crying out loud, don't do that. I get about 20 of these a day, and I find them incredibly annoying. I would never work with somebody who has not even enough respect for me to wanting to build a relationship. I just had this where I found another growth architect, and I reached out and I said, dude, you need to stop it. I have the trademark for growth architect. He says, well, growth architect's like not really a big thing. Everybody's a growth architect. Said nobody was a growth architect when I coined the term. Now everybody wants to be a growth architect. How do you think this is going to look when somebody searches for growth architect, and then I come up with tens of thousands of followers and articles out there, and then you come up with 300 followers? What your client's going to think? They think that you stole that stuff from me, which you did, knowingly or unknowingly. Do your homework. At least show your clients that you're creative enough, that you have that makes you stand out. Don't take other people's stuff. There's enough good stuff. If you use creativity, you hire somebody like us, and we can help you to do that. But that's just crazy. Then the next thing that doesn't work is transactional KPI-driven leadership. I like KPIs, key performance indicators, but you need to be clear about what you measure and why you measure it. We did a podcast with Jeff Smith about KPI. He's known as the grandfather of KPI. And he says, never measure people, only measure processes, and be clear on why this process needs to be measured. And that's gotten completely skewed and misappropriated if you really want to. So make sure that your leadership isn't just about output, but I have found when we treat people well, they perform a hell of a lot better. One of the main things that I see right now in the market is that a lot of founders are playing by old rules. So I'm getting a fair number of calls, and those calls are always around, we have changes in the entertainment industry, there's changes in the board game industry, there's changes in the manufacturing industry, in the e-commerce industry. The rules are changing, Facebook ads are changing, this is changing, production is moving away. What do we do? And I went to this conference called Human Tech Conference in San Francisco, and I heard from two of the authors of the book Stellar, which I highly recommend, Stellar as in a stellar company. And they had examined 1,500 models of disruptive technology or disruptors in an industry, and they've gone back many decades. And what they found is that when you think something is disrupting something, that it means that you are continuing to have, or you continue to do what you do, and then you simply incorporate this new thing into your existing thing. The reality of it is different. The reality is that companies that use the new thing or the new technology, the disruptor, to build their business outperform the other ones by a far margin. Why is that? Because you're trying to take that is new, that is far out there like AI, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to make your existing business work with AI instead of thinking about how are you going to use this new technology to maybe change your complete business based on what these new disruptor ideas. And my final one in the top 10 of outs is pretending you have it all together, the picture perfect, the over-filtered, over-injected, over-everything image of you that is still trying to make it sound like you are infallible and you got it all together with zero vulnerability. That's just not going to work. All of this stuff is out. So let's talk about what's in. What is in this next generation of business for founders? This is where the sweet stuff really happens. Self-care, number one, is a business concept, and it is a business strategy. If you don't get into the proper vibration or resonance to attract people to you that are operating on the same frequency, you are making it unnecessarily difficult. But for that, you have to put some time, energy, and effort in this. What brings you on this particular resonance? What creates this alignment with a frequency you want to operate on? Think about yourself like a radio tower, or, if you have a phone with Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, you understand the concept of transmission and receiving. If it's on the same frequency, there will be a transmission. You need to think of yourself as vibrating in the same frequency. Number two, creativity fuels innovation. It is really amazing to me how a lot of people in this market right now are trying to actually get rid of creativity by making you more efficient. Because if you're really super efficient, somehow do they think that there's a creativity that comes with it? Creativity does not come from filling every moment of your day in it. It comes from allowing open spaces in your day so that these ideas on this frequency can actually come in. Make sure that in order for you to have these ideas and creativity in your business, you're going to have to operate a little bit different other than these super 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 businesses. There has to be room for that. The next thing that's in is nimble. Nimble and humble in a way, because nimble beats massive any day of the week. A large company like Meta or Google, why is the reason that these companies buy other businesses? And why do they buy these highly specialized businesses? Because they have no creativity, they have no innovation, because they beat it out of other people, which is why they go to these conferences and then they poke around and they see what other people are doing and then they buy that for an exorbitant amount of money because they know that you are creative and they're not. Because that's not what these businesses are built on. The bigger the business, the more processes and systems and standard operational procedures you need to have. When you're a small business and there's a market change like we're seeing right now, it is much easier for us to adjust versus these gigantic companies. The next thing, number 4, what's in, is collaboration over competition. Now, you all have heard my story that I have lost my home and everything that I own in the Palisades fires in January 2025. And what I have learned, and one of the greatest lessons really of my life, or the most meaningful lessons of my life, is when I saw that people came together to help us. And that was in a way that I never expected it. I didn't ask for it. I was on the receiving end of much generosity. And ever since, people still have been coming to me and been offering collaboration. They now want to be around this new version, this version 3.0 that is emerging, because I had made a decision at the time, and I'm still making this decision because I'm still in the thick of it, that this old version of me does no longer exist. Even if I wanted to recreate it, I'm not the same person. Something really dramatic happened to me. I have to honor that. What does it mean? It means that this new era really is about partnerships, community, shared success, because there's enough for everyone out there. But it is you who needs to step into this from this mindset perspective and say, sharing is really good. I really want to bring these people to me. Number 6, what's in conscious and purpose-driven business models. Now, I am seeing this, and one of the things I'm getting more into, or which I'm being drawn into, or maybe this is the energy and the resonance I'm sending out, which is why it's coming back to me, is a lot of founders that are looking for investment capital that have these really insane ideas that I believe in the market are going to make a huge impact. Businesses that we didn't even think could exist, or products that I've never even heard of that are like really brand new, they're even like entirely new categories. And these companies are building these because they want to change the world and they want to make an impact in a more meaningful way, because they see different problems that existed out of the way we've been doing things. So this overwork, this out of balance, we have so much disease, we have so much cancer, we have so much unhappiness, anxiety, panic attacks. We see depression on the rise, suicide rates are crazy. And a lot of this is coming from living in this world that's really not aligned with who we are as people. A lot of these impact-driven businesses are coming together now, and not just are these impact-driven businesses emerging, the investors are showing up too. Why are the investors showing up? Because think about it. The idea of the unicorn, the next Dropbox, the next YouTube, the next Snapchat, the next Twitter, they're 1 in 100,000, 1 in 250,000. So a lot of investors have actually figured it out now that these models are not sustainable, because an investor thinks about this differently. So an investor may take $1 million and put $1 million in 10 different companies. But if the margin is 1 in 100,000, then you would have to have 100 companies that you put that kind of money in it and have one succeed. And then are you going to be making your money back plus more return on investment? So I'm seeing in the investor space also there's a lot of very exciting stuff happening on the investor side as well. What we're seeing is not just on our end, it is literally on every available aspect of it. Now, what's the next thing? Point number 7 in what's in mental resilience as a competitive edge. Your mindset is no longer optional. It is no longer it would be nice to have, or one day I'm going to get to it and I'm going to get my head screwed on right. But it's the foundation of how you lead, create, and innovate under pressure. Mental resilience is, because of the transformation that we're going under and because of this intensity that we're living in, absolutely necessary. You cannot allow yourself to be thrown off by everything. I woke up this morning to a whole bunch of messages. So my mother's in the hospital in Germany. I'm running a group, a couple members left, never even talked to me about this. And then I had another major problem somewhere else, and I'm waking up, I'm already all frazzled. You have to make sure that you protect your mindset and do not believe everything you think. You have to control over your thinking. Number 8, creating while you live, not waiting for someday. Well, that's one of the points I've also stressed over many times. There is no there. There is no point in your life to get to. I thought I was at this point. I had the house. I just got married. We have 4 daughters between the two of us. We are expecting our second grandchild. We really have things together. And we thought we had it all and we could sail in the sunset, and boom, overnight, everything is gone. There is no there. You have to make sure you're enjoying the moments in between while you're here right now. Because if you're waiting to get to a point, you're falling into the trap of waiting until you retire, and then you burn your health and your relationships. You're by yourself and miserable. Who are you going to enjoy it with? Make sure you enjoy things in the process. Then number 9, community over transactional leadership. Well, it is much better if you are connecting with people consistently versus trying to have one transaction and then having that transaction be the only transaction, because then you need to find another client. We really need to look at business models that allow us to have multiple transactions, but built on communities where people then can be together, communicate, interact with each other, peer-to-peer, where they're supporting each other. That, to me, is a sign that a good leader values humans over headcount, real relationships, build loyalty. You want to step outside and go one step further and connect with people and make it about them personally versus just the transaction or the business, because ultimately we all do business with people. And finally, number 10, integration across life and business. This is probably the largest change I've seen in my lifetime, because when I started working at 16, I heard that there is a persona at work, and then there's a persona at home, and there's a different persona as a parent and a different persona in a relationship. That is no longer appropriate. You have to be consistent, and you want to be consistent throughout. It makes life much easier if you actually can be you. And if you don't like who you are, or if you still have work to do, you find the model and you find the persona that you want to become, and then you need to act and behave like this person so that you can set this motion based on all the principles we always talk about on the show, in motion on how to get to this particular point. To sum it up, the 10 outs and the 10 ins. We are living through a rupture. No question in my mind. Old systems are collapsing. Outdated playbooks are crumbling. But the opportunity exists. It is creativity, conscious leadership, innovation, and collaboration. All of these are the new power tools. And this next generation of founders, you, the founder of the future, is not asking for permission. You are building the world that you want to actually live in. And that is a power that you and only you have. Use it wisely. And with that, I say goodbye for today. That's it for this episode of the Business Growth Architect Show, Founders of the Future. If you're done playing small and ready to build the future on your terms, subscribe, share, and help us reach more trailblazers like you. And if you're serious about creating, growing, and scaling a business that's aligned with who you are, schedule your Uncovery Session at uncoverysession.com. Lead with vision. Move with purpose. Create your future.